Hey, welcome back. Thank you for joining me today, this morning, afternoon, evening. It doesn't matter. Anytime, all the time, online, worldwide, holographic. Today's episode is a special episode. This is Conjecture Time, episode 11, featuring Melissa Eslinger. Melissa Eslinger is a talented young comedian currently living in Los Angeles. I found out about Melissa through Kill Tony. If you don't know what Kill Tony is, it is a podcast, a live podcast that takes place at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles, where host Tony Hinchcliffe has a couple other comedians that sit on a panel, and they criticize, interview, and just chat with other comedians who have put their names into a bucket for a chance to do 60 seconds in front of them of material. So they'll stand up there, do their 60 seconds, and then these guys criticize them. And Melissa was doing 60 seconds every week on the show, and that is where I found out about her and reached out to her on Twitter, and we got together via Skype and had this following conversation. It went all over the place. I really appreciate the depth and the realness and the willingness of Melissa to just totally open up. Goes into whatever life story and insecurities and, deep thoughts from within one's mind that it's not always easy to access with somebody you've never met before within an hour or an hour and a bit. So much appreciated. Keep an eye on Melissa. She's talented and lovely young lady. She's going to go far. Also, this episode happens to be being released on my guest's birthday. So happy birthday, Melissa. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. She has some dates coming up at the Purple Onion in San Francisco for any listeners there, August 26th and 27th, as well as the following Friday and Saturday at the Purple Onion in San Francisco. Watch out for Melissa there, and enjoy this episode 11, Conjecture Time.
Hi.
Success.
There we go. Sorry that it took me so long. I sort of was asleep until 10 o'clock on the dot.
No problem. I assumed. And I can't believe I got the time backwards. Hour the other way. So I got up like 2 hours before I had to, which was stupid because I had 3 hours of sleep.
I'm sorry.
What? No, as is life. So awesome. Thanks for taking the time out of your day, out of your life to do this.
Thanks for your patience with my terrible scheduling abilities.
Nope. No problem. Yeah, it was a bit of a shit show trying to line it up, and then we changed the time last minute last night, and whatever. 3 hours of sleep. Who cares? It's like anything in life worth doing, you've got to kind of like go out and above and get uncomfortable a little bit, I find.
Yeah.
Okay, so Melissa Eslinger. I usually do like a little intro at the start, so I don't really have to introduce you. But I thought about like, should I chat with you a little bit beforehand? I thought, no, it's kind of cool. I like just the feel of getting to know somebody just on the spot and, maybe capture that. It's kind of cool. So obviously, I'm sure like a lot of people, I heard about you on the Kill Tony podcast, found that randomly, and it quickly became like one of my favorite podcasts and fascinated with comedy. And that's why I wanted to talk to you in the first place. Found you on there and, your personality and just the idea. I think I'm just excited. I'm one of those closet wannabe comedian people. Don't know if I would ever actually do it, but yeah, thanks for being here. So that's just my little rant on why I messaged you in the first place and got in touch.
Cool.
Yeah, so tell me about where are you right now? Just set the environment for us.
I'm in my kitchen of my apartment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're in Los Angeles? Or?
In Los Angeles, yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
How long have you been living there?
A year last May. So just like about a little over a year.
Oh, okay, cool. And you moved there from
New Mexico. So I've lived in a lot of places, kind of. I was in New Mexico before I came here. My parents live there. They've been there for like 6 years, but I only lived there for like 1 year before I moved out here. And before that, I was in Kentucky. That's where I went to college. I was there for like 6 years. Yeah. Do you want me to keep going back? Or?
If you want to, give me a briff history. Yeah. I know, like, so I've heard from the podcast that you're from Germany originally.
Yeah, so kind of. So so I was born in Germany. My dad was stationed there. He was in the Air Force. We only lived there until like 93, so I was just I was like almost 3 years old. But then we moved to upstate New York, and then we lived in Florida. And then we went back to Germany when I was 9, and I was there until I graduated high school. So I was there for like almost 10 years. And then, so when I graduated, that was on a military base, Ramstein Air Force Base. And then I went to college in Kentucky. I was there for 5.5 years because I switched majors 3 years in. And then, and schools. And then I lived in New Mexico for 1 year. Because I knew I wanted to get out of Kentucky. I knew I wasn't going to stay there. My purpose was done there, and I had to get out. And I had gone to school for film, so and my parents having moved to Albuquerque, there was a pretty good film community that was growing there. So I moved. It was easier to transition to live with my parents for a couple of months. So I did that, and then through a series of events, I got a job in LA, and I literally started stand-up 1 week after I moved here. And yeah.
Wow. So how did you get the balls to get up there your first time?
Yeah.
Tell me that.
It's funny because I remember I think it was the second time I went up at an open mic. So the first time, it was like a 5-minute set. I think I got 3 laughs. I just told stories pretty much. But those laughs were I was really stoked about it. The second show the second open mic that I did, the host called me Balls Out Melissa because apparently I didn't realize how balls out I was at the time. But I did it because, when I got here, my job was kind of temporary, and I thought that I might only stay for 4 months. I didn't know that I would get to live here longer. So I was like, fuck it, I don't know anybody here. So if I suck, oh well. Los Angeles is a big city, and I'll get over it and move on. But I did it, and I caught the bug. I just loved it. And then I started seeing the same people at open mics, and I was like, oh, fuck. So, yeah.
And did you find is there a pretty solid community, or is it pretty competitive among the, up and comers?
It's everything. There's some of everything. Yeah. There's some really, supportive people and competitive people and people that are both, but it's cool. What I like about the comedy community here is it is kind of like a family, even as dysfunctional as it might be. But there's all kinds of different mics in different parts of the city, and you might see the same people at the same ones, or you might be out somewhere going to a new mic and you're like, oh, there's Joe or whatever, so it's kind of cool.
Awesome. So how many mics a week are you doing right now?
This week, so it's kind of interesting. For the past month, I've actually been going just to one mic. It's this, and the reason I've been doing that is I wanted to get more comfortable just in my own skin and making friends. Because I'm not really shy, but as far as getting past feeling awkward and just hanging out, I'm just not that great at it. And so it's been a while since I've been so focused on work and everything. I haven't really made any deep connections since college. So I've been trying to just, get to know people better, to know myself better, and also just to be more comfortable in my skin so that as I go out and do more shows, I'm more confident on stage and off.
For sure. That's got to help, just to help you feel grounded, to have some solid community or some solid relationships around you. And
yeah, it's cool. But before that, for a while I was doing I was exhausting myself because I was working a 12-hour-a-day job and doing 2 mics every day. And it got to be a little bit too much after a while trying to do that and work. Got exhausted, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's funny how you can put all that stress on yourself, and you feel like it's just happening to you, and then sometimes you need to take a break or a vacation, take a step back and realize oh shit, I'm doing this to myself.
Yeah, I'm the worst. I do that for sure.
I hear you. Been trying to run my own business for the last 5 years, and you just take everything you can get when you're just trying to stay alive by yourself, and you gotta make sure to back off and make family time and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what should I ask you next? I'm just trying to picture a typical day. If you are going around to open mics, do you drive, or do you catch an Uber, or you walk around? Is there a bunch of mics within a few blocks, or what's that process like?
I drive for for 2 months my car was actually broken down and I couldn't afford to fix it. So for a while I was taking the bus, which was interesting because it was at a time. Sorry, my storytelling is backwards often, but my job had actually ended. I'm a PA in the film industry, so sometimes work is happening and other times it's not.
Right.
And so I was in between jobs, and then my car broke down literally the week after my job ended. And I was like, of course, this is when this happens. But I was like, okay, well, at least I don't have a place I need to be at a certain time every day. So I'll just take the bus for a while. I'll go to all these open mics. It'll be great. It'll be comedy is my job while I'm unemployed right now. And then I discovered when you're taking the bus in LA, literally you'll spend 4 hours traveling if you go to more than one place. Maybe not all at once, but you'll wait, 40 minutes here, and then just to go 5 miles, it's an hour. And then and then you do your mic, you wait forever for whatever mic that is, and then if you're trying to get to another part of town, tack on another 2 hours. Wow. So yeah, it was kind of crazy, but it was cool. I got a lot of material on the bus.
A lot of downtime, I guess, to write and just brainstorm.
Yeah.
Come up with stuff. So what was your first experience in the Comedy Store like? There's so much funk surrounding the Comedy Store, just the legend of it. It's a eerie, magical, mystical comedy club. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the very, very first time that I went, I didn't know anybody, and I don't even remember how I ended up with it, but I went to a roast battle. It was it was a year ago last June, and it was before it was quite as hyped as it is now, because I remember actually having a seat and stuff, but I just watched the comics that opened before, and then the roast battle was going on, and I was like, oh, this is interesting, and then the next day my boss actually mentioned, I think Judd Apatow was going to be performing, and they said they could reserve some tickets if I wanted to go, and I was like, fuck yeah. So I went and I sat in the back, and I met one of the door guys and all that good stuff, and I was like, this place, I want to come back here more and more. And when I talked to one of the door guys, he was like, yeah, if you're a comic, you can come and watch when we're not sold out, and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, cool, I'm gonna come here, kind of school type thing. And then the next day that I came ended up being on a Kill Tony night. And that whole thing was funny because I didn't even know what the show was. I had never heard of it. And I was actually going to the wrong room. I was trying to go to a different mic. But I can tell you that story if you want. But
for sure.
Yeah, So like the doorman that I met, the guy that I watched that show, so that's my friend now, Stephen Randolph, was at the door, and I got there and he's like, "Oh, you're back, it's good to see you." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm here. I think I'm supposed to go to the belly room." He was like, "Oh, you're here for Kill Tony?" And like, I was actually there for what's called the potluck, which is an open mic, but I didn't know. I just was like, I thought that it said the belly room on the website that I had looked at for the open mic. So I just said the belly room. He was like, "Kill Tony?" I was like, "Sure." And we started walking, and he was like, "You know about Kill Tony, right? What it is?" And I was like, "It's an open mic, right?" And he was like, "Well, blah, blah, blah. You do a minute. There's a panel." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds kind of crazy." And I had only done stand-up like 6 times. And when he said it was like a podcast, I was like, "I don't want to do it, but I'll watch the show." Like, I was like, "I'll watch. This sounds cool." He's like, "What? You don't want to do it?" And he tried to convince me to put my name in. And then I was pretty much saying no. But this guy that I now know, he's my friend David, but I didn't know him at the time, which is why it was so fucking crazy. But he walked down these stairs from the belly room where we were heading up, and Steven was like, "I'm trying to get her to put her name in. Should she go in?" And he was like, "Yeah, she's funny. Put her up." And he'd never met me before. I'd never met him before. They were just kind of doing a yes and moment. But then 3 names into the show, my name was pulled up, and I was like, oh, I went up. And I actually, one of the jokes that Tony liked so much was a joke I had literally written the night before at an open mic. And I did it at that mic and just kind of went with it. And so like, I didn't even realize like that it was a joke that was going to work a second time. Like, it was just a joke that I was like, "Well, this was funny last night," you know? And I just kind of went with it. And I don't know, it was incredible. Like, I had a moment where I realized that like all the things that I've always kind of beat myself up for might be something that kind of give me purpose.
Right.
Which is, I guess, a moment we all have at some point, I hope. But
No doubt.
like, yeah.
And okay, so then, and tell us what that was like when your name got pulled out of the bucket. You probably didn't expect it. There's like 40 or 50 every night.
Yeah. So when we got up there and I saw what the show was and like how crowded it was, I was like, "Oh, I'm probably not going to get to go up, but this is cool." Doug Benson was there, so I was like, "Fuck yeah, this is a cool show." I was still brand new to LA, so like I haven't seen a lot of comedians yet at that point, and so I was just like chilling. And then there was actually a point where there was a guy in front of me that had a light on, and I didn't realize it was Ryan Ebelt drawing. I thought it was just because I didn't know anything about the show, and his light kept like kind of shining in my eyes, and I was getting distracted, and I thought he was just like a comic, just like scribbling his jokes or something. Right. And like I don't know, I just wasn't paying attention, and I was going to very kindly just ask him if he could just like slightly shift the light just a little bit, because it's stupid. But anyway, I leaned forward and literally like right as I was tapping his shoulder, they called my name and I like fell like out of my chair into him. They said my name and I stood up. I tripped twice going up. And then I got up there and I was just like, "Oh fuck, I don't even know what I'm," and then I just kind of spilled what I could. I remembered the one joke, and then the other jokes were jokes that I had only done in my head. So it was kind of ballsy for me to do it right there, but I didn't know what I was getting into. And it's been, yeah.
Yeah, I think I went back like a month ago, maybe when I first contacted you about being on the podcast, and listened to that one. I went and found that episode. And yeah, that was a magical little set. There were some good moments and just, random, awkward, funny things that happened during the little interview and stuff after. So what was the process after? How do they pick regulars on the show?
Yeah, I don't know what their choice was. They definitely talked to me right after the show that night, not about being a regular or anything. They're just like, "Who are you?" And then I stayed in touch with Tony and Red Band a little bit for like 2 months, and I was going every Monday to Kill Tony, and I was putting my name in. And then on a Friday, I just got an email from Tony, and he asked if I could do it every Monday. And I started that Monday. So
Sweet.
I don't know what their like decision process was, but yeah.
Wow. And how long was that for? Or how long did you do it for? Because I just noticed recently that you haven't been on there for the last couple.
Yeah, so I stopped about 4 weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago. I'm going back. It's kind of all in the air right now. I'm working on like a couple of different things, sort of. And I don't know, the show is kind of, it was getting to a point where I was letting it beat me up instead of like challenge me, which is a faux on, or mistake, faux pas, whatever, on my part, and just how I was approaching it. And I also, so work was getting stressful. I kind of like recently had just like, I needed to stop everything for a week and just just get my headspace right again, because I was just running. I mean, I hit the ground running when I got here, and I didn't stop for like over a year. And I was just like, holy shit, I gotta pace myself.
Yeah.
I'm not old, but I'm 4 years from 30. So I'm still young, but I'm definitely like not as invincible as I thought I was when I got here.
That the internal stuff can really pile up if you're just always doing outside stuff.
And I didn't realize I've lived my whole life in it.
Yeah.
Until like really, I mean, within the last 6 years, it's been kind of a better journey than before. But even within just the last 2 years is when you just reach a point where you start to realize that everything that you are connected to is like self-made, and you don't have to be connected. Like there are things that I would hold to myself as a part of me, and it would affect like my interactions with people. And I'd be like, wait a second, like, why am I letting, I can be my own person now. And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that. As a kid, I remember, like, you watch a movie or something and you get inspired by the movie or a character in a TV show, and you feel like, yeah, that fits. That would be me. And you can kind of get stuck in that gravity or something, like that's your, I don't know, that's your direction. But just something I thought of from being a kid. I remember Heroes and just, I don't know if you're into Saved by the Bell.
I watched it, yeah.
I guess I'm a little older. I'm 34, but yeah, Zach Morris was the king of the crop back then.
He was a handsome dude.
Does it get any easier? Like, does it get less scary as you're getting up to mics?
At mics, I mean, Kill Tony for some reason never got less scary for me ever.
It seems
and
intense.
It probably won't. It's just, I mean, 40% of the room, or maybe even more than that, maybe it's more like 60% of the room is comics that they're very critical, and like there are people that already have, like, they've already made up their mind about like who I am or what I do or whatever. They have these like preconceived notions, and I was always kind of like a wallfly in the past, and so like I've never been in a position where people even care to have already formed an opinion about me. And so for whatever reason, I started to realize that like I had a really shitty opinion of myself, because I was just kind of taking in a lot of negative and not seeing any positive, which positives are definitely there. But I forgot what the original question was.
I think I was asking if it gets any easier, less scary.
Yeah. So one thing I have noticed though for sure is like my like booked shows are the shows that have an audience of people that I don't know or have never seen me before. Those I'd say I'm like my most confident. And there's something about a clean slate with an audience. There's something about that really like frees you up to, if you set out on the right foot, you can act like you've never even had a bad set.
Totally. I can relate playing in bands when there's something about going on tour and playing a place where the audience doesn't already know you, that they just don't take you for granted, or it's like, I don't know. Yeah, you're just free to making a first impression again.
Yeah.
Yeah, without having that all there. And especially, I guess, like on Kiltony, when you're in a position where it's like you're guaranteed a spot every night, and then there's all these other people scraping to, hoping to get up there. So
yeah, and then people would like, I was like, people would get mad if they think that like I wasn't doing the work, I was like, you write and you write, but you can't just sit there and like write something funny. Like it's like I'm still learning like how to take it from real life to on the stage, and then it's a whole like, I don't even know how to.
It's like you're learning a language. You're learning how to translate your funny thoughts into funny thoughts in other people's heads.
And then if I'm sitting there judging myself as much as anybody else, and the thing is, the biggest thing is that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, whether good or bad. And that's the lesson that I've been learning, kind of the strongest. And I've been told by many that also comes with a little bit more age. But I think the sooner I grasp the fact that it doesn't matter what anyone thinks, I think the better I'll be at being myself and just going after shit that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you like the nerves?
I do, yeah. There's an adrenaline rush with it, I would probably be a drug addict if I didn't have some kind of addiction like stand-up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the nerves are... And I think what I really like about it is overcoming it. I mean, just... When I got here, public speaking was not something that like I'd ever had any intention of returning to in any way. And the only real experience I had in it was like, speeches I had to give in school. And I took a class where we had to give, there were like 3 speeches throughout the semester, and then a final exam was a speech. And literally right before, or like a week before the final exam, my professor was like, because I had been so nervous the whole semester every time I did a speech, he was like, just write the speech, read it, don't worry about looking at anybody, or he was like, you can face sideways if you want. He was like, just read it, don't, because I would get so nervous. And I did it, and I passed the class and whatever. But I guess there's a part of me that's always like, man, I wish I could just do this shit and not shake.
Right.
Like literally, like I used to play music, and I stopped playing on stage because I would shake so much I couldn't play my guitar. Oh, right. And like I did in my sophomore year of high school, I did a Battle of the Bands, and actually our guitarist and singer dropped out 2 weeks before. So me and the drummer were like, fuck it, we're just going to do our own thing. So it was just me, I was playing guitar and singing, and the drummer, and we were doing a cover of Jimmy Eats World, Listening. Is that what it's called? Not Sweetness, but the other one that's, yeah, If You're Listening.
Okay.
Yeah. But it starts with this whole riff, and I was shaking so much that I messed it up and started it over twice before I finally got into the song. But I always think about that moment when I'm, it's just crazy when nerves are translating so fast to your body that you're literally like just shaking, and then like somehow like every once in a while I'll find that like groove in thoughts where I'm like, okay, wait, the world doesn't own me, my mind is still here.
Yeah, absolutely. What about okay, so Germany, you did New York, Albuquerque, Kentucky, LA life, culture. What's LA life like for you?
I don't know yet. I'm still figuring it out, because I feel like what I anticipated, I expected, obviously a lot of diversity and all kinds of people from all kinds of places, which I was excited about, because growing up on a military base, there were people, I made friends from all over. But I didn't think about the whole, like, I didn't realize how much of a difference in culture there is from, like, what I would consider normal people and like rich people.
Right.
Which like isn't something, because that kind of stuff doesn't really have much of an effect on me one way or the other. But then like I'll walk into a Rite Aid in Beverly Hills just thinking of it as just a regular Rite Aid. But then I walk in and like they're even selling different products because, you know, in that store there are people that probably literally don't leave Beverly Hills. And it's not even like you'll stumble into it without even realizing you're there. Like I thought that all the different like communities of LA, it'd be very clear when you're going from like one to the other, like Bel Air, Beverly Hills, Hollywood, West Hollywood, but they all kind of run together. It's like just a bunch of towns mushed together. And so like when I meet people that like only stay in one niche, like literally they have their grocery store there, their gas station there, their work there, or whatever. And people build still kind of like these small town frameworks. But when you have like uber rich people doing that, it gets weird.
Yeah.
Like I noticed so many things that I don't even know where to start. But like Beverly Hills is my favorite one to criticize, probably because it's favorite to criticize. It sounds
Probably
terrible.
like expensive, nutritious Chihuahua snacks at all the
Yeah,
registers.
All kinds of. And I saw like pills for hydrating, like if you're dehydrated, and like
Don't have
like,
time for water.
Don't have time for water. gotta get that flight. I better take these pills. It's so funny. And I recently saw a lady, I think I posted a tweet about it or something, but I always feel lame when I cross over, like, I don't know. The internet world still, that's another thought. Now I sound weird. But but there's this this lady, she had her dog. It was in the Rite Aid. I don't know why I keep thinking. I get my medication there. It's 24 hours. So I go there like once a month. And she had her dog, and it was like sniffing like it was gonna pee, and I was like, she's not gonna let it do this, is she? Like, and I'm watching this lady. It's an older lady, but like she knew what the dog was doing. Like she looked at it, it stopped, sniffed some more, lifted its leg, peed on a display shelf. She just stood there watching it, let it finish, and then walked off.
What?
Like, what just happened? You just not only like, it's not like the dog was just like, oh fuck, I'm gonna pee right now. No, it was straight up like clearly it was like she was just walking the dog, but she was inside a store.
Wow.
And I went and I told one of the people that worked there, because that's gross. Like you pee, you gotta clean that up. So I was just like, hey, this lady just let her dog pee on this shelf, and they're like, okay, we'll go get it. Like it wasn't new. Like it wasn't like
it's another Chihuahua piss.
Another Chihuahua piss.
That's funny. Oh, I remember what I was going to say before. You were talking about the nerves. I can relate. Just the other day, I haven't had this for a while because my band's been pretty inactive, so I haven't been on stage for a long time. But I called into I was about to get to work, and I was flicking through my Twitter feed, and I saw that Tom Green tweeted he was on the Greg Fitzsimmons radio show. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'll call in. I'll call the number. I won't get through, and then I'll get to work. And then sure enough, I did get through. And, within like 2 minutes, I'm on the air, and I was not ready for it at all. And I'm choking on my tongue. You get the cotton mouth. It is amazing how those physiological changes just like kick in. And I don't know if you ever totally overcome them, or you just get used to it and just kind of get comfortable with like, okay, here it is. Here's the hump to get over, and swallow that lump and get comfortable.
How was that?
Stretch out.
Do you get that with your music too, or
the nerves?
Like,
not
I know you said.
Not near as much, but I'd get a little bit before I get on stage. But I find there's with 3 other guys up there, and I've got a guitar to hide behind.
Yeah.
So it's totally different, because I have done little sets too, just where I'm like singing and playing acoustic, and it's way more nerve wracking than having other guys up there, like being part of a group, not being the center in the front.
It's cool that you play music. I think I read that and I forgot. That's something that stand-up has actually helped me with, because I started learning bass again. I played bass for a short time, same time that I did that Battle of the Bands. But then when our guitarist dropped out, I was like, all right, I played bass. But anyway, so I did a set with a friend's band. I just did one song, not a set, just a song. And I didn't shake or anything because I was like, I had the music and the band to like fall into. And suddenly, like, because of doing, so I don't know if
Oh, lost you there for a second.
you ever, yeah. It was.
Oh, I'm losing you a little bit. Just one sec.
Oh.
I'm tethering. Oh yeah, I never really, I don't think I really explained, but I am in a ditch.
You really know.
I'm in a ditch. You can see that I'm in a car. I don't know if you can see behind me. Oh yeah, there's a seat and stuff you can see.
It's funny when I saw that because I almost was going to do it in my car because my roommates are here. Hopefully I hope they're not sleeping because I might be waking them up. But
yeah, I was doing sound at an event really late last night, and I drove up to my studio to unload stuff, and I thought I'll do it from here, but I know the internet's sketchy out there, and I tested it, and it was really slow. So I thought, okay, I'll find a ditch, and I'll just tether. I could have drove home and done it, but I have a wife and 2 kids and a dog, and I just knew trying to find that quiet space, not distracted space, wouldn't happen. So I was kind of set on doing it in this ditch.
There you go.
So, tethering out here in the ditch.
I hope my sound is okay. I actually have a microphone that I could. My roommate has one, but I've never set it up to this computer before.
Oh yeah, no, it sounds fine. Once in a while, I hear. I don't know if there's like a paper on your desk or something crumpling a little bit.
Oh, it's probably just me fidgeting.
Just some fidgeting. Me too. I just hold a pencil. So who are like, whatever, shitty question, but your top 3 comedians, like that really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard. There's so many. I mean, Robin Williams is one of the funniest people I think that has ever lived. Johnny Carson. He's actually, I'd say, obviously they're both not alive anymore, but Johnny Carson has been like my top for the longest time, and I think that's because his story is really interesting, and then his laugh was just so infectious. And then, of course, I like, Louis C.K., Bill Burr, Mark Maron, Sarah Silverman. Yeah, all kinds of people. It's been Dom Herrera is someone that I had heard of before. Obviously, he's been around for like 40 years. He's beyond a legend as far as I'm concerned. But I didn't. After like starting to do comedy, like. I saw things kind of differently a little bit, and it's amazing the people that I've gotten to like cross paths with, and then I've looked at their stories and like their where they're at and where they come from, which I guess that would be their story. And it's pretty cool to like I don't know, to be in the universe with them, but like to be to look at like Dom Herrera, I can look at like jokes from that he started doing, decades ago, and see like who he is as a person and how like just in the moment people are, and like how like when you're a good person, which I still believe most people are, and hope that most people are. LA can be kind of hard sometimes because there's just a lot of assholes, and it brings out the asshole in yourself a lot too.
Right.
And so like, and I like discovering those moments so that I can be like, wait a second, and kind of reflect on it. But damn, I'm talking in circles again.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, he's great. I'd never heard of him before too. I think I was introduced to him from like Joe Rogan podcast, which I'm sure introduced Dom to a new generation of listeners around the world. But yeah, he's hilarious, and he's so hilarious. In the moment and just laid back, and his observations and his like, yeah, on the spot. He's great.
I actually met him at the Improv. I was just at the bar there. I made friends with I just started going there a lot because it's the Improv, and I was like, I'm in Hollywood, I might as well go. And I was just at the bar, and I recognized him, but I didn't really fully know who he was or anything. And the bartender was like, yeah, she's a new comedian, and he was like, oh, and we started talking a little bit. And when I left, he was like, I'll see you around campus, and I just thought that was that was like the most encouraging thing that anyone had said to me thus far, because I knew that he'd been doing it for a long time, and then and how he's a real comic, like and I was I think I was like just a few months in, so everything is still kind of like whoa. Most of the time I try to keep that aspect of life in general everywhere I go, because I need to be excited to do well at anything.
It's got to be tough when you, with that excitement or with that momentum, or when people are looking at you, you probably want to keep doing it, but you need to do that work behind the scenes to sustain it, right? Or to make it worth it, or.
Yeah. And like, I've spent so much time wondering, like, okay, wait, so am I supposed to do this? Or am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to try this? And then you start to realize, hold the phone, like, why are you looking around instead of like just like no one knows you like you can know you, because no matter what, like, you're the only one in your head. And that's why I think, like, learning, that it doesn't matter what people think, not because fuck everybody else, but because for whatever reason I have a complex with like I can't pee if you're listening.
I saw you tweet that the other day.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea behind. I mean, that's a real thing. For a long time, I couldn't pee if someone else was in the bathroom. Like, I would wait for them to leave because I was embarrassed of the sound, which is ridiculous. Everybody pees,
right.
But even that was like a shyness that I overcame, and I realized that, like, I mean, it's a really silly analogy to have, but it doesn't matter. We all pee. So if somebody's listening, they're weird for paying attention to you.
Or if they think it's weird that your pee makes a sound.
Yeah, and if they think it's weird that your pee makes a sound, then they're weird. Right. Then they don't, or they're just not honest with themselves.
Yeah. I dated a girl like that. Every time she'd go to the bathroom, she would turn the tap on. Just let the water run.
I had to do that sometimes, like, to get myself to go when I'd have to go. But I just remember in, like, I was in Girl Scouts when I was a kid, and we always had to, like, at camps, we would have to go with buddies. And I hated it because I was like, I want to go by myself. I don't want anybody to hear me.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I remember that. That reminds me of a little camp story. I used to go to this Christian, like, Bible camp, and I was like 12 years old, and we slept in these covered wagons. It was like a ranch style, horseback kind of camp. And there was like this little kind of sill on the back of the wagon that you could roll up the flap and stand on there and pee in the middle of the night, whatever, pee out on the grass. And I went and stood out there one night. It's like 3 a.m. and I'm peeing. And then all of a sudden I felt something on my leg, and the guy behind me was trying to pee out there too, but he was peeing on me, kind of half in his sleep. He went to pee out of the flap too, and he was peeing all over my leg. This guy, his nickname was Mosquito. I never got along with Mosquito. Tangential.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we were talking about, like, that, inner work and stuff that needs to be done, and whatever, being quiet and taking some time away from the external world and all that stuff. Are you, do you have any kind of, like, a practice, or do you go to therapy or anything? It seems to be like therapy is, like, coming out as, like, oh yeah, everybody needs some of this, not just the people that were beaten to a pulp when they were a kid, or stuff like that. Therapy seems so common.
Yeah, so therapy is actually something I've been, yeah. I think I'm losing you. It might be me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right, cool. Good. Yeah, so I actually just started going to therapy, but I went for years before. I think it's just a great tool to have, because a lot of times, especially when you're younger, I think you are worried about, like, just having a place that's, like, completely, you can just soundboard. You can be like, I don't even care if my thoughts make sense, but I just need to, like, get these out and have them heard. Because a lot of times you hear yourself say something and you're like, that's ridiculous. Now I know. Like, I'll be worried about something at work, and then I'll actually, like, talk about it. I'm like, oh, wait, that's totally irrational, because XYZ would have to happen for that to be, or whatever. But also, like, it's kind of like learning to have deeper friendships and stuff too helps with that, because that's what we do. We do life together and just as people. And so I don't know, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it seems to be something that's coming up for me a lot lately, or just people around me, where I can just really see that, like, yeah, almost everybody could use it in some capacity. And I don't realize, just as my own shit, I'm 34 years old now, and you start doing some inner work and you realize that, yeah, your foundation is just built on, assumptions and impressions and events and the traumas, and everything's built in there.
Yeah, no matter what we've been through, those are the lenses that we have. And as I've gotten older, I start to realize that, like, my lenses aren't there. We only have, like, I don't know. I like overcomplicate things and then I forget what I'm saying. Okay, good. I'm not alone. But yeah, like, we all approach things from a background that isn't accurate to the whole world. It can't be, because it's just one slice of, like, life. And when as I've been getting older, I've started to realize, like, places where I'm like, I didn't even realize I'm still lashing out at my mom when I respond certain ways. I mean, it seems so silly and so simple, but, like, even in watching some of the episodes, like, there was one where Tony brought me up. He kept saying, always nervous. And I think on one episode I got kind of mad, and I was like, well, you brought me up, like, saying I'm always nervous. And I thought about that, and, like, on one hand I was, like, proud of myself for, like, noticing something and asserting it. But then I thought about it and I was like, it doesn't matter what anyone says, though. Like, if I'm me being me and I'm growing, if I'm getting past the nerves, then I can't say that being told I'm nervous is what's making me nervous. That's ridiculous.
Right. I was going to ask you about that, because I thought that must be kind of nerve-wracking to be, you get whatever, to know that you got to go up and do a minute of fresh stand-up, and then to be introduced as the always nervous and sometimes freezing up, Melissa.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, but I think that's what's kind of cool about it, is learning to block things like that out. Because ultimately, like, I'm still in the driver's seat as far as what I do. And I give up that seat a lot. And I didn't realize that really until I started doing stand-up. That I kind of, because I've always kind of been a people pleaser, but also, yeah, I don't know yeah.
Try not to get in the way. Yeah,
but in worrying about it so much, I would find myself getting in the way.
Right.
Even at my job as a PA, sometimes I'll be on set and, like, if I'm trying too hard to not be in the way, I'm going to walk, like, right in front of the camera team or something. Like, I'm going to do exactly what I don't want to do if I'm worrying.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable, you'll start tripping.
Yeah.
Where should I go next? So, like, okay, the therapy thing. Are you a spiritual person at all?
Yes and no. I mean, yes. Ultimately, yes. I've gone through different phases, but the one that always sticks is, whatever belief makes me feel better enough so that I can be a better person, then I don't care what's true and what's not, because ultimately, like, all we have is now and here, and if believing in something makes me have a better existence for other people and myself, then I'll believe in it. But my mom's Jewish, and my dad is Presbyterian. Neither of them really practice anything. So, like, my mom, she raised me and my brother and I both to just respect other people's beliefs and believe whatever we want. Just don't shove it down other people's throats. She used to tell me that I could believe in unicorns. She didn't care as long as I wasn't forcing other people. I approach it like that. But I went to when I transferred to film school 3 years into my college education. So I studied psychology for 3 years, and then I transferred to study film. And the school that I ended up going to for film is actually a private Christian school, which was really interesting. We had to go to chapel 3 times a week, and I had to take an Old Testament class, a New Testament class. And it was especially interesting because I actually went through a major like Christian phase when I was 19. I got a cross on my wrist, like all this, which that actually later resolved with, I connected with some other things in my life.
So it's not a prison cross, though. It was like you were on the outside
No.
and you got it.
Yeah. But if it looks like one, that would explain why it was so cheap. But, yeah, it's weird because I'm not much of a reader. I wish I would read more than I do. And that's something that I'm doing more of now. But like in school, I almost never finished reading the books we were supposed to read. Not because I couldn't or didn't want to. I just would get bored too quickly and say, fuck it. and then I don't know. I was always in high school and stuff. I was always kind of able to, like the questions are always so leading that like you could kind of like, as long as you were in class, you could kind of like follow along. I don't know why I went into that, but anyway, in this like Christian binge that I went on, I suddenly was reading, like I read the Bible almost cover to cover within like 3 months. I really actually went back and focused a lot on Genesis. And what I started noticing was all these like these symbols and these underlying ideas. And I was like, wait a second. Because one of the beliefs I've always held is just that like there's truth in everything, even the most ridiculous things. And when I read the Bible from like a person that wanted to believe in Christianity, it both the Old and the New Testament, it opened it up enough for me to see some of those like things that are truths, even though they're amidst like things that are definitely kind of wacky. And I started, it was interesting. It changed the way I watched TV and read other books, not because it was the Bible. It just happened to be, the time that like, it really, I don't know how to explain it. Like it was like a turning point in my perspective of just everything, just because I started to realize that like, even in comedy, like I was watching Aqua Teen Hunger Force on Adult Swim, and all of a sudden there was like these underlying themes that I was like, wait a second. So basically in simplest form, nothing is face value in life. Like thank God or thank whatever. Everything like for some reason as a child, like I felt like things went deeper, but I couldn't find like anyone else to like see it the way I would see it, or like the words to express it. And like I still clearly don't have the words to express that, but like it started to become something where I was like, it is real though, like this deeper undertow that we all like sense, and whatever it is. And I mean I don't think I'll ever again attribute it to anything. I think Christianity was just what I needed to kind of get it, like to open up more to anything, sort of.
Like scaffolding, like a framework.
Yeah. And also like at the end of the day, there's obviously really bad and really good in the world. I mean, but there's also like all kinds of in-betweens and outside of that, but at the ultimately, like, I think everybody just has, I mean, I can't, obviously, I don't want to overgeneralize because there's so much terrible things that happen in the world, obviously. But I think that most people have the desire to do good, and we're only, I'm like speaking like a third grader. We all want to do, but I don't know.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, like
I just want to say I like that that realization that all these stories and themes, and no matter how the story is told, whether it's a cartoon or a fictional story that somebody's telling or a real life event, like the lessons can be the same behind them all. Like that's just the media. That's just the medium it's coming through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the lessons are what's important, what's behind it, whether it's a parable or not. It's just like rings something in you that like understands this plus this equals this, or
yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Something like that.
Very cool. And I started, I sort of felt like there was that in comedy, and yeah, obviously there is. That's what makes it such a compelling art form. But I'm gonna try to move to my patio. Let's see if this works.
Oh, sure.
If I start to lose you, I'll come back.
No problem. But yeah, just that God feeling is whatever you're doing. Like I'll do yoga a few times a week, or I can play music and get lost in it, or you could be whatever. You could be in a church singing in a choir. But if you're in the moment and you're just really feeling it, I think that's you're connected. That's God, or just one way to look at it. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you on that. Like, I think like, how is it that, there's that comedian Drew Lynch that was on, he was on America's Got Talent, but he had an injury in like high school or something that made it. He has this like really strong stutter, and his voice it's really shaky, and like, but it's from this like injury. And he has a joke about how he got the injury, which was, I don't want to quote it because I don't know exactly, but the idea was he was playing a position. He got.
Oh, I think you muted your mic there.
It's my headphones messing it up. Let me see. Because I have you out of headphones.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Is that working? Yeah. It's working?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Must have just hit the cord.
I'm going to smoke a cigarette. It's a very bad habit.
Do it. It's the worst.
It's the worst. I'm actually, I have like a soon quit plan, sort of. I don't know. We all say that.
In that direction. No, I hear you. I smoked I smoked for a long time. I'm lucky that I can kind of, I smoked for like 10 or 12 years pretty steady, but I find I can do it casually once in a while without getting sucked in and buying a pack. I can have one every couple months or something.
Yeah. I want to get to that place.
Yeah. I think the first step is to move to cigars.
Yeah.
And chewing tobacco.
I actually tried to do that once. I not actual chewing tobacco, but those ones in the kind in the pouches. It's like snus or snooze or something. Snuff. Yeah, it was like Camel came out with this. It's like in these little pouches. But you actually,
so you wouldn't get the crap in your lip.
Yeah, and I like went through a phase where I was trying to do that, and it was so ridiculous. But it was kind of like, it was supposed to be like spitless tobacco, so that you wouldn't have to spit. But I would still like be in my car. Like, it was ridiculous. Funny enough, that was also at the same time that I was going through all the Christian stuff in Kentucky. Right. Add a little chewing tobacco to that.
Trying to quit. Ridiculous. Yeah, I went through that. I think I must have been 13 or 14, maybe 15 even, when I went through the Christian, I was pretty on fire for God for a while there, going to summer camp and everybody speaking in tongues and and that kind of stuff. And I'm pretty sure in hindsight that tongues is just, it's like a Middle Eastern language. I was working all weekend at Folk Fest, and there's like a lot of Bangladeshi people and Indian people and Pakistani, and they sound just like they're speaking in tongues like my grandma used to. So I'm pretty sure she was just tapping into a Bangla language or Pakistani or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because like when you like you start to see that like with the truth thing, the underlying truth thing that we talk about, it's like we're just seeing things from different perspectives. And for some reason humans, or at least I've noticed within myself, that like we tend to think that there is a right way to look at something, and there just isn't. There's so many different, you can have, I mean, it's as simple as half empty, half full, but you know, obviously deeper than that. But it's also that simple. Like things are more than one way.
Yeah.
And they're also the same. Like,
yeah, I like to look at it like we're all nodes, you know, like in space, there's stars everywhere, and we're all nodes on this whatever consciousness map, and everything's in a different direction from us. Like for me, the sun is that way, and for you, the sun is that way, and depending where you're starting from and what direction you're going.
Yeah. I think the coolest, the most exciting part of growing up recently has been, I like putting something in that framework. It sounds so silly. Most exciting thing about growing up, but it's been realizing that those like wavelengths and like where you are in relation to other people when you come across them, like they're definitely like it's a real thing, and it's cool, the underlying hangout kind of thing. Like it's just for some reason as a kid, it's almost like I was sensitive to that, but I didn't know what it was, so it freaked me out. Right. And I thought that like I was wrong, and I didn't have the words to like express it, so like I just always thought I was misunderstood. But all that, you know, that's how we all feel, because at some point, right. Unless we're not realistic at all ourselves. But then like it's so exciting that life really, like there those feelings that we're like, oh no, that's just me. Probably not. It's right. Probably just you, and that's really when you really own, like I don't know. I equate being, I'm turning 26 this week, so I equate being 25 with being 2 in that, like, it's not out of a mean place or a narcissistic place, but we tend to think everything is about us. Like I tend to think everything's about me. When somebody's mad, I'm like, they're mad at me. And thank goodness, like, most of the time, nothing is about you. Right. And so, I don't know, it's very liberating when you really realize that. And you're like, I didn't realize I was equating everything to being about me, but now that I see that, and it's not, that's refreshing.
Yeah, that's a recurring theme that keeps coming up for me. I keep hearing that in different places, that, you know, if you're depressed or if you're not happy or you're stuck in a funk, a lot of the times if you just take the focus away from yourself, do something for somebody else, it can make you realize that these things aren't all happening to you.
Yeah.
Just take it on.
Yeah. It's interesting that we do that too, because I think people do it in two extremes. Like, some of us kick ourselves so much that we can't do anything positive for the world because we're too busy beating ourselves up. And then there's other people that, like, blame everything on everyone else. And in both directions, if we just stop and remember, like, nothing is as big as it seems. Like, nothing, like, the moment is wasted if you're worrying about
another moment.
Yeah.
That already happened or hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like right now, this is the only place you can start a fire, is like right here, and you're thinking about shit that happened in the past. Yeah. That's potent. It's powerful when you realize that, and when you can remember that, how, like, oh shit, I'm in control. I'm like controlling this body, and I'm alive, and I can. Yeah. You can really do whatever you want within the.
Someone really brought it home to me recently. I mean, it's been hammering into me, and I guess that's how I make myself learn things, which is funny because that in and of itself is. But anyway, there's this guy on set where I'm PAing right now, and he pulled me aside because I was having like some shoulder pains, and he wanted to do some stretches, and I thought that was awesome. I was doing these stretches with him, and I was so tense and like I was nervous for some reason, which didn't make any sense because all we were doing is stretching. And so I like realized that, and I was like, ugh, I'm stupid. And he was like, he got mad, not at me, but he was like, when you call yourself that, you're putting everybody else that's also trying to chill in the same like wavelength as you. And you're saying that we think you're stupid, and that's kind of mean to put. And when he put it in that light, I was like, oh, because for me, like, it's really easy for me to call myself stupid or call myself, and not only is that just childish, if I were to call other people that, that'd be silly. So why would I do that to myself and put that out there for myself to fulfill by constantly like saying bad things about myself? And that doesn't. Yeah, and when he put it that way, like he almost yelled at me, almost like a little kid, like
you're pissing
as if I am stupid. Yeah, and but when he put it that way, it really like it just sunk in deeper than it had before. And I was like, he's right. Like when I call myself stupid, I can call myself stupid all I want and think it's not hurting anyone else, and it might not be. But simply by putting myself down, I'm not allowing myself to be a positive impact. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I'm creating myself to be either a negative or a wasted space just by calling myself stupid. And you don't have to call yourself stupid. And that's a really easy thing to, like... Yeah,
you're kind of setting the bar low, or maybe, I don't know if subconsciously people do that if they think they're making people around them feel better by putting themselves lower than them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. I think when I do it, I think most of the time when we're unhappy with something about ourselves, well, I don't know, because I know that people say that like when there's something you don't like about someone else, it's usually something you don't like about yourself. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Yeah.
It's like a reflection. Yeah, everybody around you is a mirror, and yeah, if you see something that's really annoying in them, it's probably like the trait that you're afraid of putting out the most, or something like that. Yeah, something along those lines. So, I could chat like this all day, like just philosophy shit, and just trying to connect with stuff in your head. What's your like? Do you have a 5-year plan, or it sounds like you're right now just trying to like get into now, just trying to, I don't know.
Yeah, my 5-year plan is to stay alive for 5 years. No, I'm working, right now, like my goals have been so like short term. I actually just started remembering to think about kind of the long term, and I realized, for example, with Kill Tony, it can be what it needs to be in my story. And I realized that like if I have the confidence and the confidence and hope that I had when I stepped on stage for the first time, if I can cling to that as much as possible, like I can attempt almost anything. And so now that I'm realizing that, I'm like, okay, I can choose which way I go and like how I do this. So I'm just starting to map that out kind of. I know that I want to go to New York at some point in the next couple of years. I want to live there at some point, but I definitely just want to visit. I want to start getting out on the road more. And I thought that I might dabble in acting a little bit, which is not something I ever really had plans to do. I did some in high school a little bit, but I really, I think what I'm getting at the root of everything is I like directing. I directed a short film in college, and I really liked it. And I think to be a good director, you just have to be, you just have to know people and know yourself. So that's kind of like the longer goal is I'd like to direct. Stand-up is something I want to do for the rest of my life, because when I'm doing it right, whatever that means, I feel like it helps me just as much as anyone else, and vice versa. When it's just telling jokes, it gets to a place where it's just almost equivalent to like jerking off because you get the instant gratification and whatever. But when you're really like having a conversation with the audience, even though it's one-sided, like that's to me what like the real stand-up is, and that's something that I want to be a part of my whole life.
Yeah, that seems next level. Yeah. Like yeah, you could joke, and it's kind of like having a surface level or a casual interaction with somebody that you know, and having a laugh and talking about the weather and walking away. And just leaving them like, oh, they're nice and they're smiley and good person. Or you can connect with them. You can like bare a little bit of your soul and then laugh. And that's what I love about comedy, how they seem to be like the shamans of humor. They can like navigate these, take you into these dark waters. And then,
I mean, Doug Stanhope, have you seen his, I don't remember what the
Killing
special
Mother or whatever?
Yeah, yes. Where, I mean, if you can get people to laugh at your mother's assisted suicide.
Wow.
I mean, it just shows that like this world, like the world is fucking dark. And if you can't find funny in it, what are we doing? Like,
yeah.
I mean, what's the point? Because all we'll have left is like sadness to squabble in. And it's like, we're only here for whatever reason, for however length of time. So I'd rather do it laughing, or at least trying to find the funny instead of being sad. It doesn't make those experiences funny. It doesn't take any weight away from it, but I think it just makes it so that we can cope with it. You know,
Right.
I mean, if it weren't for funny, like, I would be such an obnoxious little dork. Like, I would be helpless. And I see that in a lot of just all this. Obviously, like, it's hard to turn dark into laughter without seeming like you don't have a soul. So like it's just such a delicate art that I have so much admiration for people that can do it.
Tightrope of cleverness and authenticity and timing and just everything to it. And I find even there's some comedians that could tell some jokes that could be really good jokes if they were just told by somebody else.
Yeah. And just in the way that you say stuff. Yeah. That's something that has been mentioned to me before. I haven't heard it in a while. But that reminds me of like learning to write in another comic's voice. Because a lot of comedians get by with writing jobs.
Right.
And I think there's something definitely to be said about removing the me out of the equation and the depth of learning to write in someone else's voice. Because then, not only are you letting go of yourself, but you're also, like, they're letting go of themselves enough to, and that's not necessarily, like, writing for them to do stand-up or anything, just writing, whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. Is it too, it's not too windy or anything out here?
Oh, no, your sound's fine.
You're good? Okay, cool.
But yeah, that comes back to that, like, that relativity, I think, of like being able to write for another community. Like, you're outside yourself, so you take away that personal part of it, and you can kind of, how it's easier to see things about other people that they can't see about themselves from the outside, or things that deny it. Yeah, that must be kind of cool, just to be able to get in their head and get away from your own subjective stuff and tap into their humor.
There's actually this show here I've done once, it's a mashup show where they have a comedian that will do like 6 or 7 minutes of material, and then improv teams will come up and basically act out the bits. And it was funny when I did the show. I'm trying to remember what the sketch. I don't remember much of it, but what I remember is they were pretending. They were creating this scene where they were in this workplace, and the boss would come in and be like, just this total pushover and was like, it was like telling people to do stuff, and then they'd be like, the employee characters would reply and be like, I can't think of any specific examples, but the idea was that like suddenly I was seeing that the way I was presenting my material, I was presenting it as if it was like anybody could take it and spin it however they wanted, instead of just saying what I wanted to say. And because of that act out, like I could like see that.
That brings me
so,
to
I don't know.
just something I thought of earlier. I don't know what you said that triggered me, but it just made me think of this. And I was thinking of it last night as I was driving home. For some reason, I just wanted to tweet it, but I was like, like tweeting I find can be like saying things out loud just so you can hear them for yourself sometimes. Or,
Yeah.
I don't know, and how I do it once in a while anyway. But just that, like, the more open-minded you are, the less focused you can be, or the more discipline it takes to focus. So like being open-minded is great because you can see everything from every point of view, but then at the same time, it's kind of hard to like grab onto like, okay, what am I going to say, or what's my direction right now?
Yeah.
It seems like you get that too.
Yeah, because like I'll be like when I'm speaking, I'm also like still thinking of like, and I don't do it on purpose. I'm not, but we still think about like, I'm still thinking of all the perspectives even as I say them.
You're playing devil's advocate as you.
Yeah. And so like sometimes like I'll start to say something, and then I'll realize, wait, I don't know if I stand behind that actually. Now that I've said it, I'm not sure that I'm still behind that idea. Which I think is actually one of the most interesting things I've been learning about improv too, is going with like when you start to feel that, going with whatever the new thing is that starts to like come out, and that is like really hard. I think that comes with really deeply being in the moment, because I've noticed with stand-up, when you're really engaging with the audience, they might throw something at you that you weren't, because obviously like as much practice as you have like trying to see all the different perspectives, we can't know all of them. We just can't, because we're still limited to ourselves up to a point. And so being able to bend when like I might look at someone and think that they're misunderstanding me, and so I'll have this urge to like clarify. But if you do that like too presumptuously, then you just make it awkward because you don't know what's actually going on in their head. So like just going with the moment when it changes, even when it means your perspective changes, like and for some reason we hold so strongly to like when we decide we have a perspective on something. I say we very loosely, but
people.
Yeah, like we want to hold on to like our opinion so tightly that like if I'm having a discussion, I might come off a little bit defensive, but if something is said that makes sense to me somehow, I'll be like, oh, and kind of go with it. And like, I don't know, learning to do that like all the time, and in stand up and in just life, kind of changes things. I don't know.
Yeah, back to that moment that like,
yeah.
I don't know what other podcasts you listen to, but Tim Ferriss' podcast is one that I enjoy for a lot of like inspirational kind of stuff and new ideas. He's always trying new things. But oh crap, I forget where I was going with that. There's one with Derek Sivers on there. There's like the guy that started CD Baby. So, and he's like, musician and entrepreneur and just driven guy, just kind of does whatever he wants to do and puts the, just buckles down and does the work. And something he said gave me good perspective of like, we're going to live 70, 80, 90 years, whatever. You can do a lot of things in your lifetime. You may as well like break it up into chunks and focus and like do something well for 5 years and then do this for 5 years instead of like trying to do a little bit of everything and watering it down. And that really rung a bell for me.
Yeah, that's a big theme in my life right now, is I've noticed there's a lot of things that I've gotten good at really fast. I've done that kind of my whole life. And then I tend to plateau at a certain point. and that's when attention is lost. And I look to something else, start doing something else, or I'll assume that I can't do something, and then I've already decided, so my efforts are going to be in vain if I keep trying. And I feel like when you realize that, like, the worst thing that can happen, like, I struggle kind of with, I don't know if I struggle with depression or not. I think I just think too much, I think is all it comes down to. But I at one point, like, as a teenager, I struggled with, like, suicide or whatever. And as I've gotten older, I'll still have sadness that goes that deep, but then I'll sit in it and I'll remember, I'm like, the worst thing that can happen is I just sit here and nothing happens.
Right.
That's the worst thing that can happen, because I'm never going to actively try to hurt myself, because that's just stupid and silly. It's not stupid to belittle. I've done it before. It's like, I get it, but it doesn't accomplish anything. So I'm not going to do that. So if I'm not going to do something that works towards a goal, then I'm going to do nothing, which really isn't that bad either, unless, you're trying to, but if you're trying to reach goals, then you're obviously getting out of that sadness.
Right.
That was a really weird, kind of backwards, I don't know where I'm going with that, but yeah, like, I noticed, like, there's this manager that I've been working with, like, I don't have a manager, but he's been a really cool, like, guidance counselor kind of guy sort of in my life. And I sent him a thank you card once, and I drew a microphone on the back. And I'm not an artist, but every once in a while I'll draw something, or I'm not a drawing artist, but every once in a while I'll draw a picture that I'm like, wow, damn, good job, that's pretty cool. I sent it to him, and after he got it, I don't remember how it came up, but he mentioned something, and, like, he didn't realize it was a drawing. And when that happened, like, I realized, I was like, you can be really good at something anywhere, like, but the difference is when you go through, when you're not good at it and you still keep doing it.
That's right.
And you still take the steps, to get better. And, like, art, as far as, like, drawing goes, if that's where my heart fully was, like, I could, and at some point maybe I will just draw for 5 years, and but, like, I realized that, like, it's just where you put, like, if you're always looking for the funny, you're going to find funny stuff, period, because life just, and the same with, like, if you're drawing all day, you're going to get better.
Yeah, you get good at what you do, and you find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's like relationships. I find, like, some people can jump from relationship to relationships. They, you have the spark and the honeymoon period or whatever, and then it fades away and you get bored. And I've seen a lot of friends kind of go through that, and it can be the same thing with passions, right? It's like, it gets you into it.
Yeah.
The magic of it. You're trying to get that first time back, or the first time where you really felt it in the flow state.
Yeah.
And then eventually maybe you start to, like, you stick with something enough that you're like, wait, I want to, like, see how much I can grow this. And it could be like, same thing with relationships.
Yeah, definitely. And that's another thing too. Comedy has addressed so many of my flaws. It's amazing, because as I got further into comedy, I started seeing myself treating it as relationships that I've had in the past, where, like, when I first started, it was like a honeymoon, and I was just, like, so excited, and, like, I was getting off on the adrenaline and the instant gratification of laughter and just feeling good, and then like struggling to sit quietly at night and exist in what makes comedy, which is things that aren't always funny. And I feel like I've done that in relationships. So, and also, like, I kind of, like, started to notice, like, codependency issues that I've had in the past that I wouldn't say I didn't realize them, because I didn't choose wisely. I only have sold myself short more than once. but a lot of it comes back to like looking outward instead of inward, and then moving outward because you've been looking inward. And I was I feel like I always like, I don't mean to come to the back door, but it's like how I enter conversations for some reason.
No, I hear you. Same thing. I think it's part of that devil's advocate thing. You say something out loud, and then you try to see the other point of view, and then you kind of meet in the middle. Figure out what's right about it.
One of my friends recently, we were talking about the whole yes and concept of improv, and he was like, Melissa, you're more like yes, period. You're just like, yes. That.
Improv fascinates me too. I sent an email actually last week to this. There's a local improv group in the closest city to where I am, and I've never even attended a performance or anything, but I love that kind of stuff. I love like Comedy Bang Bang, and I don't know if you've ever checked that out. Comedy Bang Bang.
I actually have not. I think I've seen a little clip on YouTube, but I haven't taken the time.
Just the characters and the improv and stuff that they do on there. And I sent an email to this group just asking about like, what is it? Can I check it out sometime, or what does it take to try it? I just want to dabble. I'm just kind of saying it out loud for myself right now to hold myself accountable to it, because I want to try it.
I do that.
Same with stand-up. I want to try it, even not to prove anything, but just to get the nerves and get up there and try it and just feel the wrath.
Do it. Do it. It is like, even the first mic that I did, when all I did was basically tell stories, when I got even just one laugh, it's very validating, and it just for me at least made me realize that like, if I'm coming at something honestly, I can do anything that's honestly in my heart. And yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Really appreciate having you on. It's awesome to meet you and chat with you face to face digitally.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Good luck in the future. And I hope to hear you more on Kill Tony. Looking forward to your new projects. I'll put your at Melissa Eslinger on Twitter. Put that in the show notes, obviously. Do you have anything else you want to talk about or like promote or put out there for people to check out?
Sure. I mean, I'm always like too nervous to promote things for some reason, but I'm actually doing 2 shows in San Francisco in the next 2 weeks at the Purple Onion, which I'm really excited about, because Zach Galifianakis recorded his special at the one in Washington, and so I'm like, oh, this is cool.
The piano one that he did?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's at the Purple Onion. I think that was in Washington, though, not San Francisco, but still the Purple Onion. So if there's any San Francisco listeners, I'll be there Friday the 26th and the 27th on Saturday, and then the following Friday and Saturday. As far as like other projects, I will keep you posted, because I've got like 3 that are, I'm going to have to pick one, basically. So, yeah, it's not a bad thing at all.
Get to be a little bit picky.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And, yeah, this is really fun. I love it. That's cool. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm glad you opened. I wasn't sure how, because I've only ever heard you in 60-second chunks on the podcast, so I didn't know if you'd be, nervous or not much of a talker, but you seem comfortable when you're in your element, when you're not on the spot, introduced as the most nervous girl in the world. Before I let you go, I just wanted to ask, I have either the next podcast or the one after that, I have this guy who does astrology. He's like kind of just a young astrology buff. If you wanted to have your chart or birth date done, I was going to ask you if you wanted to give me that info.
Yeah.
If you want to. And then we'll put it out there on a later podcast. Sweet. So you said your birthday is next week or this week? Yeah,
this week, August 24th. It's actually the same birthday as Dave Chappelle.
Oh, crazy. August 24th and
1990.
90. Do you happen to know what time you were born?
I know it was in the morning. I was born in Germany. I don't know if that time zones matter.
I don't write that down. He might ask. Germany. And you're not sure if it was morning or afternoon?
I know it was morning. I think it was 8 something, but I'm not sure. I'd have to.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'll send you a message when we've got your reading for you, and young Blaine will blow your
I'll
mind.
text my mom, see if I can find out the time of
Cool.
my birth. That stuff really interests me. So
Cool.
It's really intriguing.
Yeah, I'm
Cool.
open to all of it, and I like to see the connections for what they are, but not say like this is truth, this one's God, but just look for the little connections.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Melissa. Wishing you all the
Thank
best.
you.
Big hug from Canada, and this podcast will go up in a couple days.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. Take care.
I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And that's it. Melissa Eslinger. What a sweetheart. That was fun. Okay, here I am. Conjecture time. Chris Douglas. I am in a ditch in the middle of Saskatchewan, tethering off my phone. Obviously, there's a tower in sight. This is a really flat place. I've had a pretty good connection this whole time. I think Melissa only froze up maybe twice on me for a few seconds. But that was a lot of fun. Yeah, my little fetish with comedy was satisfied. The itch was scratched. Got to ask Melissa about the scene, about Kiltony a little bit. I could have had a million more questions, but maybe I'll meet her one day if she gets into, starts doing more touring, like she says she would like to. Melissa, if you're listening, if you come up to Saskatchewan, you've got a place to crash, and we will help you promote the show and get some people out there to fill up a room. It's only like a 30-hour drive or whatever, so swing by. Conjecture time. Thanks. I love you guys.
That was good, right? Right? Are we good? Are we okay? That was all right. That was fun. She was nice. I had a good time. Asked some questions. We got some answers. What more did you want? All right, I'll play a little something. This is from my hamster who escaped in 91. Bobby